So the National Guard is unique in that it is assigned to a specific state here in the United States, in our case, Oregon, obviously. And the National Guard is a ready response force in time of need for domestic response or domestic crisis. We work directly for our governor for the state in many cases in disaster response. So as a military organization, we always have a can-do attitude. We can do whatever the governor asks of us. There is a process, and it really revolves around the strong relationships that we have with the civil authorities and working in conjunction with them as a disaster or a response requirement builds. The initiation of the process is really a request from the state for Oregon National Guard assets.
The process is generally follows the ORS, or Oregon Emergency Response System process. So in that, a local community runs into a bad day. They have a bad event. Their capabilities are tapped out. They put in a request through the Oregon Emergency Response System to the Oregon Department of Emergency Management. They'll analyze that request, identify whether or not a statewide emergency declaration needs to be declared. And generally speaking, when that happens, they'll start reaching out to emergency support function partners or ESF partners to respond. We have specialized assets that are focused on specific jobs, whether it's chemical or nuclear, biological threats. We have aviation assets that can conduct search and rescue or surveillance. So let's start with CST, the Civil Support Team. Our Civil Support Team is a weapons of mass destruction team that has capabilities to work any kind of incident that involves chemical, biological, or nuclear assets.
The mission of the CST, first and foremost, is to always be ready and always there. We're an immediate deployable asset for an incident in the state of Oregon that has to do with chem, bio, radiological, nuclear, or explosive threats, both natural and man-made disasters as well. So we can bring communications platforms, our mobile laboratory, we can bring to an incident if needed. Essentially what we do is we assess the scene, we advise and support incident commanders on the current threats, and we can give them additional assets if needed and request those assets from other states if it's a long-term or large-scale incident. We can help respond, assess, assist, and advise the incident commanders on how to handle that threat and to protect the population and the citizens of Oregon. Another way the Civil Support Team can deploy is what we call a no-notice event. And we maintain a 24/7 response capability 365 days a year. So if we received a phone call right now for support from an incident commander, let's say it's a fire hazmat team to an industrial accident, we can go there and help set up monitoring equipment to get an idea on the spread of contamination. Another example would be during the wildfires. If we have a large environmental issue and you have to deploy a lot of assets into the field, we have a communications capability to bring a lot of agencies together and unify them to work together in the field. And our communications platform can do that by putting everyone on the same network and providing that communications ability for incident commanders to use in the field.
CERFP is a unique asset, and it is not in each of the 54 states and territories. So it is a regionally located asset, shared between states. And yes, when CST identifies a situation that they need additional capabilities outside of what they have, or just more capabilities with what they have, the CERFP elements are called in oftentimes. And they have different response capabilities, a lot of medical capabilities, which the CST doesn't have. And that's where they can really bring a response package together in a more robust manner to handle a situation that is transitioning from a local incident to a larger, potentially national scale incident that will require outside national assets.
The CERFP is a CBRN Enhanced Response Force Package, and CBRN stands for Chemical, Biological, Radiological, and Nuclear. And we're basically the second wave of response in the event of a hazard or natural disaster, dealing with any of those previous 4 things I outlined: chemical, biological, radiological, or nuclear. So the CERFP can be called in the event of a natural disaster or a hazardous material situation, and we can be enacted by both the state or federal level. We have 6 functions or 6 teams as part of the CERFP, and it's a command and control team, a decontamination team, search and extraction, joint communications, medical element, and then a fatality search and recovery team. And one of the great things about CERFP is we can be utilized as one entire package, or each of those teams could be utilized individually regarding their specific function. One of the unique parts of the CERFP is that we are trained in our incident command system, just like our civilian counterparts, and so we can integrate with any civilian entity on any kind of case or scenario. But the main point of a CERFP is to reduce human suffering and property loss and save lives.
Our aviation assets in the state of Oregon are multifaceted and can serve quite a few different roles in domestic response. I would say those assets are used on an as-needed basis. It goes through the same response or request process, rather, depending on the situation. And then the state or the National Guard will decide what assets will be utilized given the mission and its complexity.
So the Oregon National Guard has a lot of assets to offer. We've got the Shadooks that can do water buckets. They can also haul personnel and equipment around. We've got the Black Hawk unit that can do medevac coverage, water bucket training, also can move personnel and equipment, although typically not used in that capacity. We also have a Lakota unit, the UH-72 in Salem, that has a thermal imaging capability. They can help map the fire line. And they also have an excellent suite of radios on their aircraft, so an excellent command and control type unit that'll support air attack missions. So the National Guard is typically activated to support fires when the governor declares an emergency. They're looking for us to come in and supplement the contracts that are in place with the U.S. Forest Service. So when those assets are busy, pulled away, then they'll activate the National Guard to supplement. We love the dual status or the dual mission set that we have. So we get to deploy overseas as a medevac company and literally save lives, which is an amazing mission. But we're also very passionate here in Oregon to support our fellow statesmen. We got to go save lives here with search and rescues. We got to save lives, sometimes property, supporting wildfires. So it's a pretty amazing job, an amazing mission that we get to do.
The Emergency Management Assistance Compact is really an agreement between states within the continental United States to provide resources when one state's assets are not available or incapacitated. The EMAC is truly an agreement between states for resources. So when a disaster happens and a specific state does not have the assets available, they can request assets from the other states, and the agreements have already been put into place to transfer either equipment or resources to the state in need. It allows states that are in the middle of crisis to get assistance from outside states.
I think one valuable asset that the National Guard has through the Civil Support Team and the CERFP program is building and maintaining relations with our state partnership program. We train a lot with our civilian counterparts at the local, state, and federal levels in the United States. And being able to share that experience on a way we do things might be helpful to other countries, but we can also learn from them as well. Not every country manages an incident the same way or has the same response structure based on the assets they have available. And the state partnership program helps us think outside of the box and gives us a fresh perspective on how other countries or agencies or militaries might be handling incidents. And I think it's a win-win where we can learn from each other.
One of the main benefits that I see working with our state partners is just expanding our knowledge base of what types of scenarios we could be involved in, as well as, those best practices. When you bring in another capability or a way that someone does something different, it's always a chance and an opportunity for us to see reevaluate how we do things and maybe improve upon our processes and capabilities. So it's always exciting when we get to work with other teams, other nations, and other states.
The one thing that I'd like people to know about is the sacrifice that our service members make when they come on to state active duty. They're leaving a civilian job, they're leaving their family, they're volunteering to go out and support this state in whatever mission they're being called to action, whether it's firefighting, COVID response, state hospital mission, flood response, any of those things. And they're giving their all to help the communities that desperately need their help. And it does come at a sacrifice and a cost to them. And I hope people really appreciate and understand the sacrifice that our service members make to help them out every day.
So the National Guard's motto is always ready, always there. And I don't think there'll ever be a situation where we can't respond. If there is a need in the state and our governor requests the National Guard, our adjutant general and my operations center will work to find a solution to meet the governor's needs. There's a sense of pride that I'm helping my community in a time of need. And it is something to be proud of. And I think most of our guardsmen are, that they can provide that assistance to their fellow citizens.